of you that really know me, you know that I am a comic nerd and you know my love for comics. Now, if you really know me, you know that there is one thing that I hold over Batman. The one thing that I love in the comic world, in the comic lore, in the lore of animation that I love more than Batman, and that is He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But there's many of you who truly don't know the history of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. There's such a disconnect, and there's a reason behind that. What we're about to talk about now is the history behind Masters of the Universe. So we got to go back to the year 1982. They introduced a comic. In this comic was this fantastical world, unlike anything that we've ever seen before. In this world was this dark-skinned man, and we're not talking about the animation yet. Right now, we're talking about the comics, the inception of the comics. The inception of the comic was that He-Man was this dark-skinned barbarian wanderer. That's the origin. If you want to speak of Vicor or whatnot, that's the origin of He-Man. But there's a much deeper origin that most people don't know about. And there was something that happened in 1985 that completely rocked the world of animation and comics. Many of you already know what I'm about to refer to. The cancellation of Filmation's He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But before we can go there, I got to give everyone a backstory for those who are unfamiliar with this lore. Let me explain something to you guys. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe by 1984 was a multi-billion-dollar toy franchise in 1985. Let me say that one more time. A multi-billion-dollar toy franchise in the year 1985. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money today. Can you imagine what the money was worth back then in 1985? But something happened on September 7th, 1985. Myself and my cousin Alex, as we are at my aunt's house, feverishly, impatiently waiting for Filmation He-Man and the Master of the Universe come on, something happened. Something happened on Channel 5 in New York that changed not only my life, but the lives of many young Black and Hispanic children, male and female. He-Man didn't come on. He-Man didn't air. Now, this is pre-internet. We could not go and just automatically find a reason why. They took something that was near and dear to our heart and just turned it off. Now, all of us kids are sitting there. We're sitting there scratching our heads. Hey, where is our He-Man? What happened? Why is it not airing? We had no answers. This franchise was unlike anything that we have ever seen. Let me tell you what the problem was. The problem was that there were an entire nation of people, Black and Hispanic, where the youth was so fascinated by an animation, by a cartoon, something that got into their blood, something that triggered their memories, something that made them leave from outside of their house and wanted to collect all of their friends and raise a sword in the air and say these 4 words: I have the power. And then for some reason, it was all over that fast. A multi-billion-dollar toy franchise just vanished overnight without any explanation at all. And again, we're sitting there scratching our heads. What happened? Well, let's get into what happened. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm going to read something here to you so that you can see that this was indeed something historical. Because a lot of people could come up here and start making claims about things. No. The one thing about AI can help us out with a little bit of history. Let me read something here to you. Watch this. AI overview. Watch this. Based on available history of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe franchise, the claim that He-Man was taken off the air because he was too black is not accurate. Stop. I have to ask you a question. Why does AI even know of this here? Because it was something that happened in history that AI can go back and reference. This was something that happened in 1985, family. In 1985, He-Man was taken off of the air because it was reported that he was too black. Now, if you are familiar with the lore and everything of He-Man, going all the way back to Vicor, you know that it was a dark-skinned man. The origins, we're not talking about the filmation animation where it turned him into a blonde, because Prince Adam had the white shirt on and the white and pink shirt and everything. But when he charged up and he raised that sword to the sky, and when he said, "I have the power," he became very apparently dark. This dark man, this dark muscular man, even though they portrayed him as a European or whatever, under those lights, controlling a cat of all things and wielding a sword. Very reminiscent to our scriptures now, isn't it? Not only very reminiscent to a black man wielding a sword, knowing that he has the power, but also he's taking it and raising it to the heavens, getting his power from above. But just like how they whitewashed Jesus, Yahushua, they did the very same thing with He-Man. Showing you that this is a pattern, a constant pattern that they do. Everything gets whitewashed. Everything. Let me continue reading. Watch this. He-Man was not canceled for being too black, but rather due to a combination of failing toy sales, poor ratings, and failed marketing strategies in various unrelated reboots. Okay, so now I got to make sure that y'all understand that part right there. They said that it was canceled. Let me read it to you one more time. This is going to mean something here coming up in a little bit. He-Man was not canceled for being too black, but rather due to a combination of failing toy sales, poor ratings, and failed marketing strategies in various unrelated reboots. So now, what's one of those reboots that they're talking about? So they could not reboot the origin of the filmation, right? They couldn't do that one because that one was so prominent in the lives of young black and Hispanic male and female children. That lore got us. It was so familiar to us. We recognize a lot of those characters. Let's just not waste any time with this here. It was ancient. The castles and everything about it was ancient. It was something very familiar to us. Very, very familiar. And it got into it didn't get into our psyche, it got into our spirits. It was reminding us of something that we had forgotten. And they took this multi-billion-dollar industry. We're talking about white people now. Even the love of money, they did not care about. They removed He-Man off of the air. Now, 5 years later, they attempted to reintroduce it. The New Adventures of He-Man. We instantly rejected it. They made sure to show a European form of this man. They took away all of the characters. All of them. They left Skeletor, but now he's a goof. Beastman, the man that controls all the animals. Can we start with Prince Adam, first of all? Adam. The story of He-Man is biblical. And then you had all of these titular characters, again, going back to Beastman, the man that controls the beast. When you read Genesis, They couldn't put all of that into one man. So what did they do? The lore of He-Man broke it all up and gave these stories of the Bible characters and identities. Even all the way to Merman, the mermaid, the one that was able to control all the fish and all the animals of the sea. There is a story in the Bible of a god called Dagon. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're unfamiliar, the Masters of the Universe is a biblical story. And it had young black and Hispanic kids all throughout the hoods running around holding up swords to the sky saying, I have the power. And they took it off the air fast. And then they whitewashed it. And then they tried to reintroduce He-Man to a newer generation. But what they didn't realize was that all of us that was only 5 years removed from the animation that we loved and held so dear to our heart, and we wanted it back. They couldn't fool us with that at all. We're not even going to discuss the 1987 movie, joke. But then something happened. Just as fast as that BS that they put out in 1990, that European fashion He-Man that we instantly rejected, it didn't even last a season. So they let it go. And then year after year, they toyed around with the idea of reintroducing it. But then the year 2002 came. And in 2002, they said that we're going to do something different. We are going to actually tell the truth about He-Man. So what did they do? In 2002, they reintroduced He-Man. And then they introduced the character King Grayskull. And as you can clearly see right here, they went back to the origin of the character. Not only a black man, but a dreaded up black man at that. So they said, we're going to tell the truth about this. We're going to tell the truth. Yes, He-Man comes from a black man's story. Let me read to you also what AI says about that. Watch this. 2002 series, cancellation. The 2002 He-Man and the Masters of the Universe reboot was canceled halfway through its second season due to low ratings and a lack of interest in the tow line, not racial controversy. Bullshit. They did the very same thing to the original one. The very same thing happened. What happened? They introduced these black characters, the origin of what He-Man is, and they cancel it because black and Hispanic people can never know where they come from. He-Man tells the story they tell the story of the Bible in the animation form. They can't hide it. They have tried and tried and tried to hide it. Even all the way to the point they said, we are going to just tell the truth about this. And they say they canceled it, just like they did in 1985. You see a pattern here? What is it about He-Man that they don't want you to know? What is it? Because they know that He-Man does something to our spirit. It's familiar. There's a lot of Egyptian references also in He-Man as well. But when you watch it and you know that those references, yes, they appear to be Egyptian, but not really. They know exactly who we are. They know what they're doing. Family, trust me when I tell you they know what they're doing. So now, June 5th, 2026. I need y'all to pay attention to something. They canceled it in 1985. 40 years later, they are reintroducing He-Man, the original one. 40 years later. 40 years. That's biblical as well, isn't it? 40 years later, now, they made the announcement that He-Man is going to hit our movie theaters in live action. Right around the time when all of our people are coming to the realization of who we are. You can't make this up. You can't make it up at all. You can't. You can't. I'm just going to say this. This is a beautiful thing, family. For those of you that really did not know about He-Man, I'm telling y'all right now, they put things right in front of your face. Directly in front of your face. All the way back then until now. Woo! I'm going to tell y'all. This is the age of revelation. And they have no choice but to reveal those things that have to be revealed. And they always do it in their animation and in their cinema. We have talked about that I don't know how many different times. And here we have this movie coming up. Idris Elba is playing Man-at-Arms, the protector of Eternia. Eternal. If you're unfamiliar, Idris Elba is a black man. Now, Tila, the royal captain of the guards, another authoritative figure, is being played by none other than Camila Mendes, a Hispanic. So for some reason, they got blacks and Hispanics to represent Eternia. Now, of course, He-Man again, whitewashed. Just like 1985. Just like they whitewashed Jesus as well. You know exactly who He-Man is representing. You know who he's representing. On the planet of Eternia, where Man-at-Arms, where the army is ran by a black man, and his adopted daughter, who's a Hispanic. Can you say Southern and Northern Kingdom? All the way since 1985, family. All the way since 1985, they put this in our face. I just hope that this starts to jog your memory and that you know that you truly indeed have the power.